you had the corporate media that planned on doing a complete blackout of the genocide in Gaza, which everyone see how bad it is because of social media. We're seeing dead and mutilated children, entire families being wiped out. And they knew how bad this was for their PRs, which is why they lost the public relations war. It's beyond gone. When you lost 58% of white evangelicals, and I will be watching that number. We see if that was an outlier. I will be watching. I will update you guys. Because there's still part of me that think that's an outlier. But when you have 58% of white evangelicals, majority of Jewish Americans, around 75% of Jewish Democrats that are calling for a ceasefire, that's because you guys are getting destroyed in the battle of public opinion because of TikTok, and they know it. So listen to this.
We really have a TikTok problem, a Gen Z problem. Because again, like we've been chasing this left-right divide. It's the wrong game. The real game is the next generation. That our community needs to put the same brains that gave us Tac Lee, the same brains that gave us all these other amazing innovations. We need to put our energy towards this, like fast. So
we need to put our energy into this TikTok like fast. And then what happened? TikTok gets banned. Now, a lot of people seem to forget or misunderstand because I had a TikTok account that was banned because of my Ukraine hotspots, and I had to make another one. TikTok is not necessarily a free speech platform. You guys realize that, right? It's not necessarily a free speech platform. It never was. TikTok is owned by a bunch of NATO people. Ask Midwestern marks how many times they've been banned on TikTok. So TikTok was never this free speech platform. But the Gaza genocide, bro, they can't shut that shit down. That is what made the Zionists swoop in. They had to come in and swoop up TikTok because they cannot control the narrative during the genocide. And this is what a lot of Zionists, the short-sighted Zionists, I'm glad they missed this. Because what do you guys think post-genocide is going to look like? Like people are going to fucking forget this? They were pariahs forever. So they trying to manage post-genocide social media content as well. This is what it's all about. Controlling the narrative. And I know because we do this thing on RBN called Propaganda Report. People are like, why you do propaganda? I study what our enemies say. Because when you study what our enemies say, you know exactly what's coming. TikTok ban does not surprise me. I was warning you guys about this. We have done segments where they talk about online harassment. Remember all the segments I did about the rise of anti-Semitism online? You can say this stream is just one of many segments I am doing. Because I have snuffed this problem out before it even became a thing. That's why RBN is usually ahead. Because we are watching what our enemies say. So this doesn't surprise me. And this is why when this TikTok ban happened, I immediately went on Twitter and told you guys that this was about Israel. The entirety of the rate was pretending about anything else other than Israel. Meanwhile, here's our favorite channel, our favorite show on RBN. At least my favorite propaganda show to analyze. Because this is straight up state media. Morning Joe. We've seen this before on RBN, but this is why we are seeing this TikTok ban. I'm just now realizing we're almost an hour in. Where the fuck does the time go when we live together, Zoya? What the hell?
I know.
What the fuck? It's an hour already? Anyway, let's continue this video. No pressure, but I might cover the Macron thing on Saturday if you want to join me Saturday, but no pressure. Oh man, it's crazy. Already an hour in. But anyway, let's go to this video where Morning Joe laid out this strategy that we were seeing unfold.
Let's be frank about it. We've been on this show. We've talked about Instagram. We've talked about Twitter or X, and you've seen my back and forth with Elon Musk. But we need to talk about TikTok. TikTok, if you will, it is the 24/7 news channel of so many of our young people, and it's like Al Jazeera on steroids, amplifying and intensifying the anti-Semitism and the anti-Zion with no repercussions. I've got to ask, Joe, like there's been a lot of lamentations about the fact that TikTok's ownership is Chinese, but you know what? Oracle owns 10% of the company. General Atlantic owns a piece of the company. Our friends at Sequoia Capital own a piece of the company. So does Sequoia and General Atlantic, does Oracle want to be responsible for spreading anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism?
Anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. You guys see they try to conflate those two things. Also, this headline cracks me up. Look at the headline here. Israel-Hamas war sparks numerous divisions. You mean the people who are against genocide versus the people who are for genocide? Are you talking about those divisions? And I don't know about you guys, but when you have 70%, and I covered this in the hotspot I released last week, 70% of Jewish Democrats want a ceasefire. Are they anti-Semites? Are they anti-Zionists? I'm sure many of those 70% of Jewish Democrats believe in the Zionist project, believe that Hamas shouldn't exist, that Hamas should be defeated. But even they think, oh man, this is too much. But to them, dissenting against genocide is a division. But anyway, let's continue the video. Feel free to interrupt anytime, Zoya. I'm just trying to speed up a little bit. Feel free to interrupt anytime.
It's time to talk about TikTok. And I think we need members of Congress to be asking them, why are they doing enough? And let me be clear. I've met with Shou Chew, the CEO. I've talked to their leadership, but it is long past time for TikTok and its owners and its investors to step up and say, enough, we're going to take action.
Yeah. Frank,
look how confident that he is that shit's going to happen. These are the people who pretend that they are a victim group. Zionist Jews. Oh, we're so victims. They can get congressional hearings at a snap of a finger and they pretend they're victims. Look at how confident that he is that something will be done about TikTok. Remember, this is an old clip. When we talk about what we want to see done for the Black community, we talk about actions that has to be done. We talk about a devastating fight that may take years, where there are going to be casualties probably. Meanwhile, you're like, man, we got to get investors in line. We got to get a bill crafted. You had privileged college kids getting congressional hearings. What, Zoe? Have you ever got a congressional hearing? I never got a congressional hearing. Meanwhile, they want to pretend they're the victims.
I don't want a congressional hearing.
Yeah, we don't want one.
I mean, I'm out of words. You know, things just keep going into more and more grayer areas. And I saw a statistic today from UNRWA, the one whose funding was frozen because of false accusations, that there are more children that died in Palestine than in all the wars in the last 4 years combined. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that 30,000 number hasn't shifted in a while because we're not getting updates anymore since there's so much chaos on the ground. If anyone in the chat has heard of any updates from that number, it has to be higher. It's been like a month that we've been using that number. So I
think it's between 100 to 200,000. I'll believe what Ralph Nader said. I think that makes more sense.
It definitely makes more sense than that frozen number. And imagine without TikTok, we wouldn't even have those numbers. So whatever these dinosaurs are peddling and trying to shape your mind into thinking is completely disconnected from reality. And like Nick pointed out, TikTok was already being censored. I'm glad you brought up Midwestern Marx. All he was doing was explaining socialism and communism. He wasn't even saying anything that serves a foreign government or anything that they mention. And still, they can go after you. So I just see the police state increasing its power, and I don't think it's any one group. I think the ruling class has solidarity that I envy, honestly. I wish that the proletariat had the solidarity that the ruling class does, because ultimately, Micah and Hannity, they're at the same dinner parties. They're not like seeing each other and punching each other in the face. They have cocktails together. They have class interests. They're always going to end up siding with the establishment. Their job is just to create a fake fight to turn us on each other so we never notice who's actually got their boot on our necks.
Big shout out to Glenn Greenwald. who I found this from. This is another reason why I say this is, and you're 100% right, Zoe. This is a lot of different factors. When I say this is Israel, that's the primary factor. That's the most important letter of the equation. If you take it out, the equation doesn't work. That's how important the Israel part is. There's a lot of different reasons for it, though. Now, this is from the Wall Street Journal. That's the one I'm going to read first. And then I'm going to read The Economist, where they just outright say it. Here's the title of the Wall Street Journal article that released yesterday. How TikTok was blindsided by a U.S. bill that can ban it. It was slow going until October 7th. I'm going to continue with the highlighted portions. People who historically hadn't taken a position on TikTok became concerned with how Israel was portrayed in the videos and what they saw as an increase in anti-Semitic content posted to the app. And to be honest, I don't know who those people are. They could honestly be liberals, and they also could be like the free speech conservatives who are like, I don't know about the TikTok thing for real. I can see liberal like, I'm not really for ban TikTok. And then those same loyalists who are Zionists saw the anti-Israel content. I think the more Democrat liberal people was upset how genocide Joe Biden was being portrayed. And once they saw that, a lot of people who wasn't on the hardcore Josh Hawley banned TikTok for years, they then changed their mind because they saw Israel being exposed. This is exactly why I say that this is 100% Israeli doing. This is another example of how Israel pushes the most extreme fascist and pro-censorship ideology on the United States. Because this was like the genocide was all right, we gotta get this in action. We've been talking about this. We've been like preparing the population. We was cooking this. We was in the lab preparing this psyop to get people okay with us. No. We gotta move right now. Enough of that bullshit. If you was one of the people that was if we assigned you the role of being on the fence, your role has changed. You're now for banning TikTok. That was the mention of the establishment. They talk about this guy, Anthony Goldblum, who's a San Francisco-based data scientist. He found far more views for video. We already covered this. This is how they pretty much talking about how they found more pro-Palestinian content. And it was like, oh my God, this shows how China is manipulating the youth because pro-Palestinian content is popular. No, pro-Palestinian content is popular, not because the algorithm manipulating it. It's because people see Israel as the genocidal scum that they are. And our generation, 30 and younger, is most likely going to call out the apartheid genocidal state of Israel and support Palestine instead of the boomers who was brainwashed over this issue for the most part. So that's Wall Street Journal admitting it. I'll read The Economist. Once again, big shout out to Glenn Greenwald for posting this. The proposal, and their article is called, Will TikTok Still Exist in America? The proposal gained momentum partly as a result of a disquiet over the app's handling of misinformation and anti-Semitic content following Hamas' attack on Israel in October.
So, and that's supposed to be false information from China? Is that the accusation that we needed China to tell us that? I mean, at least blame Iran. That's usually who's blamed for any disinformation on Israel. What interest would China have to do this? To have domestic unrest, I guess. You know what I've been reflecting on for a while. There's been a lot of genocides, a lot that didn't get this kind of traction, and one of them is Congo. It's been going on for decades now. 6 million people dead, half of them under the age of 5. So that's 3 million dead under the age of 5. There was no coverage. There was no outrage. And people from Congo and others do post footage. It's not like it doesn't exist. It just doesn't get any traction. So I wonder if TikTok actually was a turning point in radicalizing people and organizing them and getting them out into the streets. If TikTok was around when things started in Congo, will we be protesting then? That's what's been on my mind lately, because I love the response we're getting to Palestine. I just want us to stay disorganized on every issue, on every genocide.
You guys know that Israel got their filthy genocidal hands on everything. You guys think this is their first rodeo, their first genocide? So Israel is big into the diamond industry, and they are funding and they are a big supporter of the genocide going on in the Congo right now. But you have what was it, like 20%? 1 out of 5, mostly the black conservatives. I've seen many of them. There was one black conservative, I don't need to say his name. There was one big prominent black conservative that followed me. I always found it weird. And he was like, yeah, man, I know you're Marxist. I'm a hardcore right-wing conservative, but I find their politics interesting. I'm not, no need to say this guy now. Danner, forget. He got a big Twitter account. The Israel-Hamas thing, when I started defending Hamas, that is what did it. I found it. There's so many examples of that. It's very funny to me. Like this black conservative guy, he used to like my tweets all the time too. It wasn't until October 7th where I was like, Hamas had the right to defend myself. This motherfucker hard blocked me, fam. Like he used to be like, man, I love how you challenge the narratives. I love how you challenge the Ukraine narrative. I talked to this guy, I thought it was interesting. The Israel-Hamas war, bro, done. Blocked. No explanation. So I don't understand how you can be one of these black conservative Zionists and you see how Israel support the genocide in the Congo and that doesn't move you at all. But I guess in order to be a black conservative, like many black liberals, they don't feel kinship with Africans. That's my biggest beef with the Adolf movement, who also shun anyone who's not a black American. I'm like, sir, are you serious? I feel deep solidarity with Haitians, with Cubans. You know what I mean? With my black global South brothers and sisters. And that's always been the tension I had and RBN had with Ados, who like, oh, fuck anyone who's not a black American. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. It's so absurd. I lean more towards the Pan-African side, if you guys don't know.